hopefully everything's running and working.
We will find out.
We will find out.
1 minute. Let's have a look. So,
You got your microphone on, yeah? Yeah.
I have, yeah. Have you watched that program? What do they call it? It was Tom Cruise. And
Already sounds too old for me.
Shut up. Tom Cruise. Oh, what's that?
Don't know. You just keep saying Tom Cruise over and over again.
That really good accent, and he was his brother suffered from some kind of dementia type thing, and he was a young high flying. What do they call him? Hey, excuse me, guys.
Do you mean Dustin Hoffman?
Dustin Hoffman, yeah. And what do they call the driver? I don't think, what do they call the driver that dropped stuff off from Amazon earlier today? Bill.
Driver?
I don't know. Because he says in it, doesn't it? He says, I'm an excellent driver.
I don't know, I've not seen it.
You
but
are
no, I've not seen it, but I saw an interview recently where Tom Cruise was talking about, it was a really old interview, talking about how Dustin Hoffman came up to him in a restaurant. No, he went up to Dustin Hoffman in a restaurant? Something like that. And then they did the following movie.
Yeah.
After that.
What did they call it?
Was it Forrest Gump?
No, that was Tom Hanks. Come on, guys, what do they call this film? Have you got your laptop plugged in this week? I have. It's plugged in, Tessa, thank you. They called
Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman.
Tom Cruise.
Rain Man. That was it.
Rain Man, yeah.
That was it.
What a... you
I've not seen
should
it.
watch it. What an amazing film.
I've heard it's good.
Yeah, excellent drive.
Before my time.
That's what he said. That's why when I was saying that, when you were saying, I'm going, yeah. Yeah, that's what he says. And, and then he learns him to drive. And he says, I want to drive your car. And he says, you can't. It's a big flash car. And he says, I can drive. I'm an excellent driver. So he teaches him to drive, and he goes all over the place. But what an amazing film. Anyway, guys, do you want to... in fact, I want you to watch it before the next podcast, please.
What, as homework?
As homework, and I'll ask you some questions.
Wonderful.
Okay. It was very good. Did anybody else see it? It was good, see. Z said it was good. Can you hear us properly?
I was going to start talking, you talked over me. It's fun.
It's not good talking unless the speakers are working, is it?
I'm pretty sure everyone can hear us.
1, 2.
I think so. I'll get the...
Let's have a look. Rain Man, thank you. Leslie?
Well, she must be able to hear us then, so that's good.
So that's good. You must be able to hear us, Leslie.
That's fine.
Good afternoon, Knitting Nicola.
Have we still got stuff to talk about?
We've got a few bits, yeah.
We've got loads to talk about.
We can keep talking about loads. With this such a huge list there.
There is.
I don't know how we get on to talk about them. Should you have a schedule?
We tried to start with the schedule, to be fair. I don't think it worked very well.
No, because we
You just go on fun tangents, that's the problem.
I start, and I don't even look at the list.
No, you don't.
And when we finish, I look and I think,
cross that off, cross that
I've gone through all
off.
them there, yes.
I'm Jess.
And I'm Steve.
And this is...
Wild Conversation.
That's going to be a great soundbite, that.
That'd be quite good, wouldn't it? Yeah. Right. Before, we was talking about how close the microphones were to each other. And mine was causing problems because yours was okay.
Yeah, can you hear Steve okay?
Good afternoon, JKC88. I wonder what that is. You should watch it, Jess. It's amazing. I have a broken ankle. I'm grounded. So might we watch it? Oh, Silly Sally 32. I'm going to call everybody by what the name is.
I hope you feel
Silly
better,
Sally
Sal.
32, you silly sausage.
I hope you feel better.
I'm sure you laughed at me when I did some at Sal. I'm sure she did, didn't she?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure she did. I hope you get better anyway. Steve's good as long as he's facing the mic. Otherwise it drops off.
Do you know, before this podcast started, we talked about what we were going to talk about today, and Steve said, don't worry, I'll have it under control. And so far, he's not had any of it under control.
Started yet, have we?
I mean, we've introduced ourselves.
That's just... I don't bet they know who we are anyway. Anyway, on our last one, which wasn't last week...
It was a week before.
Good afternoon, it was a week before. Last week, we had a serious
You can't just say good afternoon in the middle of it.
Good afternoon. I can't say a name. I can't say... Is it say Evil Spawn?
You can just call her Eve, though.
Oh, Eve. Il Spawn. I didn't mean you were evil. We were talking about staff.
We were talking about staff.
And what we did say, without putting you on the spot, we did say that we could talk about you, because you're probably one of our... in fact, I think you are our longest member of animal staff here.
I am.
And you arrived...
I've been here for many rains,
You
many floods,
Oh, yeah.
a deep freeze.
Yeah. Oh, you've had the deep freeze as well. Have we had any droughts?
Yes, we had that one summer that was 40 degrees. Do you remember?
Oh, right, yes.
Everyone was melting.
Yes, so you've had that.
And we had that big fan on the kitchen counter, and then it fell and cracked the counter.
That's right.
Do you remember?
Yeah. So we've actually had most of these. So I'm trying to think what some
I've
of
had
the
all
extremes
weathers.
we've had. And you've been through most of them. You see, one of the strange ones, can anybody remember the Beast from the East? Can you remember?
Oh, I remember it well.
Well, what was strange about that is the lake didn't freeze as much as it did a few years before, but it was nowhere near as cold.
No.
And I think it went to minus 18.
Yeah.
And you know, the other strange thing was, this is for all you zoo inspectors and veterinary surgeons out there, we had zero problems with our parrots in all that cold.
Yeah, we did.
Do you know why? Because they did something called thermoregulate, which meant they knew it was going to be cold, so they kept warm. Anyway.
It's a small dig.
Just a small dig there with a big trouble. So, you've been through some quite extremes of temperature.
Yeah. Lots of staff changes.
There's been lots of different staff.
Yeah. Lots of building changes.
So let's go right back to the beginning. I don't think you'll remember this.
That's an inside joke because Steve doesn't remember my interview.
No, can you remember the interview that we
I remember our interview very well. Do you remember the interview?
I remember it word for word.
Do you?
Yeah.
Is that because I've told you it?
I remember it word for word. I remember that your parents were sat in the car.
They were sat in the car.
Yes, waiting, and I didn't know until the end.
You didn't know? Because who turns up to an interview telling the person that is interviewing them, oh, by the way, my parents are in the car?
Everybody. Anyway. And then, so what did you actually come for? Let's tell everybody what you came for.
I actually came for my placement year in uni. So I was 2 years into my uni course. I was just like on the latter 6 months of my second year of uni doing zoology. It was a very interesting degree. And wanted a placement year because, to be perfectly honest, uni and me, we didn't get on amazingly. And I just kind of wanted to leave.
What do you mean you didn't get on amazingly? Why?
I'm not divulged to say.
See, she's doing the same thing. She's disappearing. This is what she did in uni. She went to sort the camera out once, and that was it, done.
I nearly pressed accept then.
Did you? And that's brilliant. Would have had somebody else.
I think I was in the wrong crowds of people, I think. And to be perfectly honest, I think my brain wasn't ready for it. I was tired all the time, and I'd spent too much money in my first year, and I had to work to make up for the money that I'd overspent.
See, I don't understand uni because obviously my education stopped well before it started. So when you say your money ran out,
right? So when you back in my day, this was like 10 years ago. Remember?
Listen to it. This was 10 years ago.
Back in my day.
Like
so when you were applying for uni, obviously you apply for you can only apply for a certain amount of unis. So you could only apply for 3. In my experience, we could only apply to go to 3 universities.
All right. Why?
I think it's so that every university doesn't get every student in the country applying for them.
Oh, I see. Right.
So
You
limit your options.
Yep.
So I applied for 3, and then you get your results in, and then your uni offers you either an unconditional, so you don't need anything to get in. So I applied twice to Anglia Ruskin, which is where I ended up going. I applied for a foundation degree where they gave me an unconditional offer, which meant that it doesn't matter what my grades turned out to be at A level, thank God. I got in anyway. So I was definitely going to uni. I got a conditional offer from Anglia Ruskin based on my grades. So that would have meant that I would do the 3-year course and not the 4-year course, because the foundation course was 4 years, whereas the normal course was 3 years. Does that make sense so far?
Yep.
So I got a conditional offer for that, and I didn't actually get the grades, but they let me in anyway. Who knows why?
What do you mean you didn't get the grades?
I was terrible at A level. I was not good.
Can you tell us subjects that you didn't get your grades? So what subjects didn't you get your grades?
In biology, I got a D. In physics, I've only actually got 2 A levels and 2 AS levels, which is half an A level. So I've got a biology A level, which is a D. I've got a psychology A level, which is a D. I've got a physics AS level, which I think is an E. And I've got I think I've got a chemistry AS level. It's either an E or a U. I did really bad.
What's all these letters? So let me, I'm a bit
U's are the lowest.
That sounds like it. So let's just work this out. So you got
terrible grades.
An A.
I got no A's.
No, you got a D.
I got 2 D's.
But you said an A and an AS. So there was A level.
Yeah, so an A level is the full 2 years of the course, and an AS level is 1 year of the course.
Right.
So my first year of A levels, this is going really far back now. In my first year of A levels, I got 2 U's, which was physics and chemistry. So I think did I do a full A level of physics? Maybe I did.
I'm lost here. Right.
I think I did actually. I think I did a full A level of physics, and I got an E in that because I couldn't have taken 2 AS levels. I'm sure I didn't retake physics. No, I didn't. I think I passed physics. Shockingly, it was my worst subject. So I think I've got 3 A levels and 1 AS level. My AS is definitely in chemistry. I remembered retaking that. It was horrible.
I'm lost at this. So if you get a D,
yes.
What's above a D? Is it C, B, and A?
Yeah.
And that's it.
Skipped all them ones. Went straight to D.
Straight to D.
So I didn't do very well. So I got, and I don't actually remember the other university that I applied to. I don't think it mattered because I didn't want to go there. I had my heart set on going to Anglia Ruskin.
So where's Anglia Ruskin?
In Cambridge. It's the other university that's there that's not Cambridge.
So are you ever tempted to say I just went to university in Cambridge, or
sometimes, yeah.
Other way around? Cambridge University.
Cambridge had a very derogatory term used for Anglia Ruskin students. Yeah, they did.
What they used?
They used, yeah. It's not a derogatory term in general. They called ARU the Early Learning Centre as a university, which is a lot. Very, very, very prestige people over there, apparently.
Yes. Okay, that's okay.
They were, to be fair, the ones that I met were really nice. So I went to uni and I did 2 years there. And I just don't think my brain was in gear, to be honest. I like learning now, and I wasn't in it then.
Can I just explain? She never mentioned this in her interview.
No, I didn't. Bamboozled.
I think I was gazumped.
No, you are not.
Right. So okay. So when you actually fit, you still got to keep explaining. So
yep.
You had a year.
So my first year, so in the summer so before I went to uni, in that summer, I worked to get some money so that I could go to uni with some money.
How much did you need to save?
I don't actually remember how much I saved. I do remember that I spent it all in the first week.
What?
Well, I did save a bit. I don't remember. I think it was like $1,000.
And you spent it all?
Yeah.
What did you do when you spent it all? Just keep working on it.
Live on noodles. So and then obviously you have an overdraft as well.
Right. Okay.
So you go to uni with your overdraft and you get your maintenance. So you get something called a maintenance loan, which is to help you live. That is your life maintaining loan.
Right.
And then you get your student loans, which you don't ever see and you don't ever have to worry about. The student loans they go to the university and they go on your debt. Like now I've got debt, but I will never pay it back, most likely, because I don't earn over the threshold.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay.
So you get your maintenance loan.
Yep.
And that helps you live, and you get that in portions throughout the year also, thank God. But I think you got the biggest portion in the beginning.
And how much is the maintenance loan?
It depends on how much your parents earn. Yeah.
So the more you earn, the more you get?
The more they earn, the less you get, because they expect your parents or your family to pay for your university experience.
I'd have had a fortune.
You would have. You would have had the full maintenance loan, to be fair.
They'd have turned around and said, we can't afford Steve.
I think the full maintenance loan is about $9,000.
You're joking?
But you've got to you have to pay the university rent if you're renting from there, because obviously you need to sleep somewhere. Yeah. You need to eat, and any of the bills you've got, like your phone and stuff like that.
Right.
So your maintenance loan helps you live.
Yes.
And I spent all of it apart from what I needed for rent. in the first 10 days. I don't even think I've told my parents this, to be fair.
And I don't think I would if I was you.
And that's including going into my overdraft. A $3,000 overdraft.
I'm not going to ask her what on. I don't think we need to know that.
It was stupid. It was a stupid thing to do. But I'm here.
Yes, you are.
I didn't get a job in the first year because I managed and I survived. But then obviously I was in my overdraft and I was stressed all the time. So I got a job in my second year and I worked at M&S in the train station.
M&S in the train station?
M&S in the train station.
M&S and the train station?
No, M&S in the train station.
You had a clip here in the train station where you're taking tickets?
No, I worked at M&S.
So you worked
in
at
the train station. Yeah.
All right. And
which
doing
was
what?
Just stocking shelves and...
And how old was you at this age?
I don't know, when did you leave for uni? 18? So I would have been like 19, I guess. Something like that.
This is all new to me. You see, we've talked about a lot of things, but we've never actually... I like this.
Deep dive. And then in my latter end of my... So I'm a good worker. I am a good worker. You know I'm a good worker. So like halfway into the year, the uni year when I was working at M&S, they offered me a management position, but I had to go for management training, which was fine. So I went for that. But then the store manager of M&S was caught embezzling and went to jail. So my management thing got put on hold.
Did you get caught?
No, because I wasn't even a part of it.
Oh.
I know. Got a free frying pan out of it.
All right. Okay,
Not to do with that manager.
Right, okay. So embezzling, what did you get? A frying pan?
I think he was gambling it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, they did like a spot audit and they were missing thousands. I don't know.
Right,
It's nothing to do with me.
Carry on. That's M&S.
And then sort of like in my last 6 months of my second year, I decided I needed to vacate. I needed a break. I needed to get away from everyone. I'd had some bad boyfriend experiences. It was just a time, you know. It was a time.
Podcast altogether, guys.
No, let's not. We'll be here for 50 years. So I started looking for placement years because I knew it was an option.
So what's a placement year? That's like coming here.
Yes. So I was looking for places like this that were offering a year away from uni, that would also house me. So it's actually very difficult to find a placement that doesn't require you to pay something.
Yes.
Because obviously when you're there, you have to pay for your lodging, or you have to pay for your lodging, you have to pay for your food. And you do get a little bit of grant when you go for a placement year, but it's $3,000 for the whole year. And obviously for 12 months, that's not going to cover rent for a year.
No.
So it was either work full time whilst I was also on a placement year, but then you also have to put a certain amount of hours in and do coursework along with that. So it's quite difficult to find somewhere that will accept you for a placement year, not having an extreme amount of money backing you.
Yeah.
Which is when I found you guys. So my parents actually suggested that I apply here because it was in the vicinity.
Yeah.
And they said, why don't you go to the parrot zoo? And I remember saying, but there's only parrots there. And I don't really like birds. They were like, no, they've got tigers now.
True, yes.
So I asked for an interview.
So it was the tigers that swayed you?
It was the tigers that swayed me. You knew this though, because, well, hang on. We'll get on to him not remembering the interview. So I had an interview. I was emailing Nikki at the time. I had an interview with you. Turned up wearing a full dress suit, green silk shirt, grey suit. I came professional.
Our club line, I thought it were a brown shirt. But we're green, that's all right.
I didn't remember it, so it's fine. Sat down in the middle of the diner and had my interview with you, where I think I got maybe 3 words in because you talked my absolute ear off. Which is fine, because you gave me the placement. Do you remember this?
I've interviewed. How many people I've interviewed?
You have interviewed a lot of people.
How many people I've interviewed? Quite a lot.
Yeah. It was a good interview. I enjoyed it. I went away thinking, I need to learn everything I can from this man because he knows everything. Which you do.
Well, not everything.
You know a lot.
Don't say that.
And to be fair, I never really knew what I wanted to do. Like, going through uni, I wanted to do as broad a topic as possible. So I did zoology because it's as broad as you can get when it comes to animals. I still didn't know what I wanted to do there. I mean, when people were like putting their hands up for what do you want to do after your degree, most people would put their hands up for like conservation or research. And I was like, I don't want to do either of those two. There's a lot of maths involved in both of them. Hate that. I was just prolifically not good at maths.
Right, you know.
And you learn a lot about like zoological establishments as well, and like how they're run and what goes into them. So I was really lost about where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. So finding this place was actually a godsend, to be perfectly honest.
It's quite an insight to me, because I never went down any of these avenues. So to listen to somebody who has, I've never actually asked these questions, and I don't know anybody. Well, I know we've got a lot of uni students here who's been to uni, but none of us have ever sat talking. So this is fascinating to me, because it's something that I never knew. And being so hyper intelligent that I didn't need education. I didn't need schools and didn't need universities and colleges. I just skipped it. Skipped straight to work.
He's being sarcastic, just so you know.
It's something that I actually never thought about.
It was interesting. It was a good experience. I learned a lot at uni. Not in my first year. In your first year of uni, they kind of go through all the basic A-level stuff. So like we learned all about A-level biology in my first year of uni, which was fine because I was terrible at it. So I kind of needed it. But like for the people that had already aced their A-level biology, it was kind of a bit pointless for them.
Do you think, without realising it, do you think you'll learn something more about social skills, about people skills? Do you think you would have learnt as much? Because you're a very people-aware person. Do you think you would have still been a people-aware person, or do you think you would have learnt as much if you'd not gone to uni and you'd have just left school, gone to college and got a normal job? Do you think living out with people at that age?
I think it broadens your horizons. I think like it definitely makes you think about the wider world and not just about the bubble that you're living in. Because I think there is a big risk that when you don't come out of your hometown, or when you don't... I was actually talking to Keisha about this very recently. They don't teach you in schools what jobs you can have. So like, yes, they say you can be anything you want to be, but it's very broad and you don't think about every single job. So if you want to be like an art curator, there is a job for that and you can do that. If you want to deal with specimens in a museum, there is a job for that. But no one really tells you at school. No one goes into the finer details of what you can be and what you can't. So no one really knows. And then they expect you to know, which is the worst part. And you're like, well, no one's told me what jobs I can have. So I think it definitely broadened what I thought you could do with your life. And to be fair, the knowledge that I've got now about like, especially on the latter topics in like year 2 and 3 about like where your food comes from and what different organisations do, like the RSPCA and like the Red Lion, and we did a whole module on like zoo management. And although yes, most of it was very common sense, it was still I think it was important to hear other people's opinions as well and get like broader aspect of the world. Because I think that if you go straight into a job, there is the fear that you become very tunnel visioned. So I don't regret it. I mean, I think I made a lot of decisions that led me here, and I could have made one decision that would have never led me here. But I think for me it was the right move. And plus I wanted to get out of my hometown. I wanted to explore. I wanted to go shopping in Primark instead of go to lectures. Like that's just the way it was, you know.
Want to go shopping in Primark instead of going to lectures?
There was many a lecture. There's many a lecture I skipped in order to go shopping instead. Why do you think I had no money?
Right. Okay, so we've gone through university. I'm cutting short. We've had your interview.
Yes. And, so you interviewed me, and we did the whole interview thing, and you told me about, and you asked me what I was interested in, and I said big cats, and you said, well, if you go the right way, you could be in line to be the head cat keeper one day. You gave me all this, but you did. You actually did. You preemptively gave me the head cat keeper job.
Told everybody it's in. I even told Tina that, and she works in diner.
So yeah, you gave me all that, and then I told you my parents were outside, and we'd been sat talking for like an hour and a half.
Oh, wow.
Hour and a half. And I think you felt so bad. I've never actually seen you do this with anyone else, so I'm going to take this as like this was good for me.
Go on.
You actually took us physically behind the scenes to see Dara and the kids, which I've not seen you do with any other interviewee in my time.
Did I?
You did, yeah. You took me, my mum and my dad behind the scenes to see Dara and the Cubs. I think probably because you felt so guilty that you talked my ear off for an hour and a half, to be fair.
It's all inside to me.
I still got the pictures.
I think I've seen them pictures because they were in AHE, weren't they?
Yeah.
Zoology.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you took us behind there.
Yes, I think I remember that now. You've got to remember, it's not a case of not remembering. It's a case
You've had a lot.
There's a lot of
I
other
know,
thoughts in there. And it's mine's not at the biggest head as it used to be, and my brain is smaller, so it's compacting all these thoughts. Don't know if it works like that. So, right. So, see, I'm trying to work things out, and as I'm trying to work things out, I'm realising that nobody on this site, and probably nobody in my mind works the same as mine. So the way I'm thinking now, I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, yeah. When she started here, I didn't actually employ her.
No, you didn't. I was free labour for
She was actually free.
6 months, roughly.
And then, and
Mind
part
you,
of it was the accommodation.
Yeah, you gave me my accommodation for free, and you gave me meals in the diner for free, which I didn't claim for 6 months because I was too nervous to go to the diner and say, I get my meals for free, can I have them, please?
Why didn't you just try to claim the full 6 months end and flog them?
I didn't dare go into the diner and ask. I
I
was too socially anxious. I couldn't do it. It was only like 6 months in that I decided to get the bottle up and ask for
God almighty, she's running like that now.
Behave.
So, right, so this is...
So you gave me those 2 things for free, but yeah, I was free labour. And I actually remember, like, this must have been like 6 months in at this point, because I think Curtis started maybe 3 months after me.
Yes.
And at one point I was down at the Tigers with Curtis and I was cleaning off all the shelves and everything, and I was still free labour at this point. I do remember Curtis turning around to me and going, why do you do all of this? You're not paid. And I'm like, because I like it. I actually remember first meeting Curtis and walking really fast, because I'm like, when I get on a task, I want to get it done. And I remember Curtis turning around to me and saying, you need to slow down. You're doing too much. It's like...
Good manager. That's why he's just still a manager and not a director. Right, okay, so...
I did go at the speed of light, though, to be fair. He was right. I was going too fast.
No, you can't. Well, as long as you're doing the job properly, it's okay.
Yeah.
So you stopped on site.
Yep.
You got free accommodation.
Yes.
You got potential free food.
You did kick someone out of the van in order to let me stay in it. And that person, I think, was a welder. And he did, the only one and only time I met him, he told me that the caravan was haunted. So if I hear any creaking in the night, don't worry, it's just the old woman that's there. And I think he was trying to freak me out because he didn't have the van anymore. For about a week, I was like, but he also was a bit weird.
I remember that person. I didn't remember it until you just
I've never actually met him properly. Only that one time where he told me that the caravan was haunted.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, that's the only time I ever spoke to him.
Right, just so that you know, so you won't think about it. I didn't kick him out.
Sorry.
I didn't kick him out. He lived in Lincoln.
He came across very begrudged that I was in the van.
Well, some people own things, don't they?
Yeah.
And he'd stopped. So basically, he was a very, very good welder, really good welder. And they called him Steve. And he helped me design all the tiger stuff. And he worked some really good hours. And the reason he worked some really good, the reason he stopped there is because he would stop Monday to Friday. Because we were working, because everybody knows the story, which we talked on here, is about when they changed everything because of the Cubs and everything. So we literally had to work until 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. So I said to him, why don't you... I've always had a caravan on site. Right from the day moving here, there was always a caravan on site. Honestly, there were. Just
collecting them.
Yeah, there was always a caravan on site. And I always used to... You know, when you walk into a caravan, you think, oh, this is brilliant, I could live in here. And I never did. I just carried on living in that house next door. But no, so Steve stopped there. He stopped there for about 6 weeks. 8 weeks.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was begrudged though when...
He must have been begrudged if he told me it was haunted.
I think you're wrong. I think he was just trying to play one wrist. So Steve was... I liked Steve. But he had an unusual sense of humour. There's a thing about welders, and if your husband, your wife, or whoever is a welder, it's not generic this, but the welders I've worked with, they're behind that mask a lot. So they're in their own little world. Yeah. Welding is a very, very highly skilled
It is,
job.
yeah.
But you know when they can do it? It's a doddle.
Yeah.
Do they call it grandfather-in-law?
Yeah.
So my grandfather-in-law was a welder. And he was like what they call... So, you know, you get a joiner. So the joiners, people who work with wood. Then you get a cabinet maker, still wood, but he makes fancy cabinets. You get a kitchen fitter, still wood. But then you get a master joiner who can do all three.
Yeah.
He was a master welder.
Oh, right.
And he could write his name with weld. Unbelievable.
Oh, my gosh.
He was an absolute expert. And when you talked to him, they knew, and he used to work on the ships, so they had to know what they were doing. Otherwise he sunk.
Not ideal.
Not the perfect job. But I think they're in their own little world. When they can do the job brilliant, then I think they tell each other jokes. But they only tell themselves. So when they seem to be a little bit socially distanced. And Steve were brilliant. I like Steve. But he used to come out with some jokes that he laughed at. That nobody else even thought funny. So, but it was...
It might have been that. It might have been
so I think that's what he said. So, it's haunted in here. And you're like, cheers, mate.
I don't know. He seemed a bit grumpier than that.
Well, there was obviously... I think there was...
I don't hold it against him.
There was deeper things happening. I think what was happening is... I think there was a problem with work. And I don't know if it was me that was unhappy. And I'd said something about...
We're getting deep.
No, I don't want to go into it because I can't remember and I might have said the wrong thing. But I think he'd come to the end of his Steve reign.
Right, okay.
And I was like, I think it's time we departed friends.
Right.
And he went into his world of welding somewhere else.
Fair enough.
And you moved in.
Yes.
So, did you start off then with the Tigers straight away?
No, because I was a volunteer, wasn't I?
Right. So how long...
To be fair, I was there very quickly because when I arrived, so obviously the interview wasn't like there was a gap between the interview and me starting. I started in July 2016. August 2016? I think it was August.
Was it?
Yeah.
2016.
And the cats had just got there. The 11 of them, 12 of them, whatever they were.
Oh, the full group.
The full group had just got there.
Oh, right, yes.
I think they just got there.
Yes.
When did they come?
Well, the first batch came in 15.
Yeah, that was
Darren
and the kids.
And then the next ones came the year after, so it'll have been August, September.
So, I think I got there just in time for them just arriving. So the first day, I remember, I walked outside and obviously everything's shut at that time because no one's here in the office and there's I didn't know my way around the park. The only time I walked around as a fully fledged adult was with my parents on the interview day. So I didn't know where anything was or what anything was doing. I didn't know who anyone was. The only person I'd met was Nick and you. I walked out my van and luckily Ruth had literally just walked across and I saw her go through the bushes and I was like, must be the way to go. So,
what bushes?
They were. Do you remember? It was on the old compound because obviously the van was. There was only.
This is where the pictures had come in handy
I know. There was only a bush, maybe a fence. I can't remember whether it was a fence or just a line of evergreens.
I think a line of evergreens. Yes.
And then there was. I think there were bushes and trees and a bit of fence panelling for the compound area.
Yep.
So she went through the bushes over there, and I just followed her because I was like, well, she's gone through there, so there must be the entrance. Called out to her and I was like, excuse me.
What's your name?
It's my first day. And Ruth, being Ruth, was very much like, I'll lead you in, but I'm not talking to you. Because she was very much an animal person and that was what she wanted to do. So we went in, and I shadowed Mel first for a bit, and then Rachel for a bit, and then
Rachel, the education officer.
I shadowed Mel the most because I took over the reindeers from her.
Yep.
And like, so I did like the blue-fronted Amazons with her. So I started in the aviaries. I did a lot of the aviaries first, getting used to everything. And then I shadowed Rachel, and then I think I did a little bit with Katie, but not a lot, to be honest. And I think I did like one day with Kaz. And
She's mentioning names that I totally forgot about.
That was the first group that I'd met. I can't think if there was anyone else
Kaz
there.
Here?
Yeah, Kaz was there.
Kaz was here, yeah.
So I think I shadowed her for like one day, but she was like going into her. She had a whole lot of holiday in the time that I'd arrived.
Right.
And obviously Ruth was only doing 3 days a week, I think it was, because she was part time.
Yep.
So I didn't actually get to hang out with Ruth a lot, to be fair. I think the only time I got to hang out with Ruth was going up to the Tigers, because you needed someone to just go and pick the poop up. So you asked for some keepers, and obviously I put my hand up because that's what I wanted to do. And I started down there, which is crazy. So I did quite a lot, to be honest. Like in my first 6 months, I think I did every enclosure, which is unheard of now, because obviously
not allowed to now.
We're not allowed to now. It's we have different formats and different ways of like processing volunteers, and we don't even get a lot of placement students anymore, to be fair.
No, we don't. I mean, it all changed. It
Yeah.
changed about 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not saying this is set in stone, but the way it changed was that they won't pay now. They're not placements. I mean, that's a job. It's not a placement. And unfortunately, because the cost, this is a real dodgy situation. This, in those days, it was easier to have someone volunteering that you could then select to work in a low-paid industry. Whereas now, nothing's really low-paid.
No.
So you'll get like in your time, if you'd have asked for money, you'd have had more chance of getting money. Dipped out.
Shocking.
There. Yeah.
How dare you?
Listen, you won't even go in cafe.
That's about it.
No chance you're going to ask for any cash. But today, just the minimum wage, if you said, well, just give them 30 or 40 hours, that ends up being 500 quid a week. And
which is ridiculous.
If you're there for 12 to 18 months, whether you like it or not, that's 37,000 quid.
Yeah. Which is unreasonable.
You just can't do it because these people aren't committed to what you want, but they're committed to what they want to do. It's an unusual situation if you get somebody,
especially if they're rubbish. Sometimes
well, we've had some rubbish ones. I mean, we had some placements here from the States. We had some from Europe. Excuse me. And the difference between good and bad was phenomenal.
Yeah. It still is, to be fair.
You get a good student by your, and we've had some absolute crackers, some amazing ones. I can
not naming names.
I'm not I can name some names. I can remember Megan.
Yeah.
Megan Lambert.
Yep.
She was remarkable. I remember Harry. Remarkable. Can you remember Harry?
No, don't think it was my time.
He was brilliant. Then there was.
I don't even think I remember Megan, actually. Maybe that was before my time as well.
There was Jess, because I can't think. The only reason I mentioned Jess is because I can't remember the others. So, but they was exceptional. A
lot of us started off as volunteers, though. I mean, Reese was exceptional at his job, and he started as a volunteer.
There's lots of volunteers. Ruth came as a work experience.
Yep, she started really young. She was exceptional as well.
14, 15. And a girl called
Polly.
Gemma. Oh no, Polly was a slightly different.
Gemma?
Yeah, Gemma and Ruth came as
right.
as a pair.
I thought, never mind.
Yeah, Polly was a slightly different lady. What's the matter? My leg's shaking.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's a habit of mine. So yes, and so the difference between them is huge. And some are there to literally turn around and say, I'm here to work.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be learning. So how was it a year? And at the end of the placement, do you actually then go back to the university and say, I've done my placement normally? Or do you...
Do you not remember, like, meeting my supervisor? No is the answer. Okay. So...
Your supervisor?
Yeah.
Was it a man or a woman?
A man.
And I met him?
Yeah. called Andrew something. Andy.
So when did he come into the equation?
So he was like involved the whole way because I needed a supervisor for my placement, but I needed a supervisor for my dissertation as well. So in the end years of uni, you need to do a dissertation, which is like a big project on whatever you pick, to be honest, as long as the university agrees to it.
Yep.
So in my placement year, I needed to do documents like coursework for my placement, documenting what I've done and what the place is and etc. etc. So he came here for that as well, to make sure that one, I was at my placement, and two, I was learning something.
And not at Primark.
Couldn't be at Primark round here. It's about 15,000 miles away.
We don't have many shops around here. We have one.
What, in the cafe?
We just have the one shop.
So he came down a couple of times because you had to talk to him about my dissertation as well, because I wanted to do my dissertation, and I did do my dissertation on whether starve days affected the aggression showed, or was it stereotypical behaviours? Don't remember. Did a whole paper on it, and I don't remember. Shown by tigers. So we had to increase or decrease the starve days. So we had to alter. Do you not remember altering the tigers' diets?
I do remember altering the diets. I remember going through it because I did a interesting fact here for you. As part of that, I did a big study on what zoos around the country feed their cats.
Yeah.
And because we'd ended up with the biggest collection of tigers in the country, I wanted to make sure that someone must have the manual of tigers. And on page 18, it would say, right, feeding a tiger is this. No.
They're all different. They're all very different.
Fed different amounts of different foods
at different times.
At different times and different quantities. And it was like...
Crazy.
All right. Is there anything that's uniform here? Nothing. And when I went to see some people, and I said that, I remember this one chap called John. I said, John, what do you feed your tigers? He says, we feed them about 18 kilos of food on a Monday, and then we feed them about 16 kilos of food on a Friday. And I went, why? He says, because Dave did it before me.
Great.
I said, yeah, but why? He says, because that's what they do in the wild. All right. But not in the wild. Anyway, different subject. But so that's why. Yeah, it was fascinating when I do remember that.
Yeah.
I remember.
So I did my placement year. I mean, 6 months in, Rachel left. So Rachel went on to new pastures, which meant that you were an education officer down.
Yes.
Steve did try to bribe me. He did. Do you want me to tell people this?
I thought you were going to say Steve did try to be the education officer. God almighty, did I do that? Have I forgot that as well? Steve did try to bribe you, yes. I did try to bribe a number of students over the years.
Yes.
Drop university.
Literally.
Drop university and I'll pay your wages because I can see that this talent here, I would like a football scout.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, a scout for zookeepers. Yeah. So we did 6 months into my placement say, I'll give you a full-time job.
Did you tell me to shove it?
I did tell you to shove it, yeah. I'll give you a full-time job. You can be the education officer. I'll pay you from now on, but you can drop uni. And I said, no way, Jose. I'm too far in. So I did tell you to shove it. I did take the job. I took the job full-time for 6 months and then dropped to part-time for the next year while I commuted back and forth to Cambridge, which was honestly ridiculous. I was trying to take my driving lessons in between then. It was a lot.
What do you mean you commuted?
Did you not know this?
I have no
So in my last year of uni, I was here for, 3 days a week, but I couldn't drive. So like my parents and my poor granddad were having to like commute me back and forth. I was like the last 6 months of my placement, I was taking driving lessons. So I was actively trying to get my license. I had a car already. And on the weekend before I started going back to uni, I had my driving test, failed.
What did you fail on?
Stupid thing.
They're always stupid things, aren't they?
There was a road. There's a road in Skegness.
That's a bonus. Only the one.
Only the one. And it's got cars. It's normally got cars parked on the left-hand side. There's normally quite a lot of them as well. And I've always been taught by my driving instructor that you keep a door's length away from all the cars parked, because if they open their door, they're going to smash right into you. So I kept a door's length away from the cars on the left, and the driving instructor was freaking out because there were cars coming the other way, but they weren't. They were stopping, and I could see what they were doing. Clearly, he did not, and he gave me a major for it. And even my driving instructor on the way back was like, yeah, you should have passed. That was weird. Oh. So I don't know whether he'd hit his quota for the day or whether he was just having a very bad time, but he did fail me for that. So I was taking, so my parents and my granddad were like commuting me from here to my house or to my parents' house, and then I was taking a taxi from my parents' house to Kings Lynn train station, and then getting a train from Kings Lynn train station to Cambridge to go to uni for the day, and then taking the train back that night and getting the same taxi back to my house, and then coming back here.
Must have been a good place to work.
It was. It still is. So it was a lot. So
that's actually quite. I didn't know any of that.
So I was doing a lot in my final year of uni, to be fair, because I was also trying to write a dissertation at the same time as well and do my assignments. Although my work dramatically improved, so I should have really done it beforehand. Because like my assignment, it's very difficult when you're at uni, when you're fresh out of education, when you've had no experience going into an animal-based like topic, knowing what you're interested in. And a lot of people already had their interests. They were like, I'm into birds or I'm into reptiles. And I was like, I don't know what I'm into. I don't care. I just like animals. So when you're picking, like when they give you an assignment of like, write 5,000 words on something to do with conservation, I was like, on what? Because I don't have a special interest. Yeah. Whereas when I started working here and they gave me a 5,000 word essay to write on conservation, I did it on citron crested cockatoos in Indonesia because I was interested in parrots by that point.
Yes.
So my knowledge aligned differently. I started actually learning stuff.
Well, yeah, and also I think there's a slightly different thing of when you're at uni. I mean, I'm not saying everybody gets distracted, but when you're at uni and when you're at home, there are totally different distractions to when you live at work.
Yeah.
And when you live at work, especially in your situation, because of our geography, there's not many places. You could walk to a field.
Yeah, I couldn't drive and I was stuck with no takeaways. No takeaways, no deliveries, no nothing.
There was no Deliveroo, but we've got plenty of Deliveroo won't. Nobody delivery here. Nobody, wait. Can you do the deliveries? Yes, please. Okay, where do you live, Frisney? Oh, forget it, mate. All right, we'll starve. So we've never had a delivery. No. And I spoke to about one or two friends that I've got left.
What, from losing them on death?
In Sheffield. I don't know, just we haven't seen each other. And when they talk to me, they say, just nip into Chinese, just nip into Indian. Okay, all right. They don't think that when they turn around and say, I'm just nipping to Indian, it's a 30-mile round journey.
20 minutes there, 20 minutes back, 40 minutes to get a takeaway. Oh, are you joking?
No, that's right. But you get used to it.
You do.
You get used to the fact that you don't totally see any traffic.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, in my second year of uni, before obviously I came here, I was having a lot of takeaways. So I was like having Chinese every other night. And that is why what appeared at the zoo was in fact a rounder version of myself, which the boys all like to call Fat Jess.
No, we don't. Big Jess. We don't call her Fat Jess, we call her Big Jess. When we employed Big Jess, and then this little thing appeared from her. I think Big Jess gave birth to Little Jess, and Little Jess has been with us ever since.
I have, yeah. I did. Well, obviously, there's no takeaways. I could only eat the food that was in the house that I was getting from my parents every weekend when they'd come and pick me up and we'd go shopping and I'd restock everything. It was a lot. I mean, I didn't even have a freezer in the caravan.
Commitment for parents, that,
yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah, they did a lot, bless them.
Every
weekend.
Huge commitment. I didn't see.
And my granddad as well. Like it was a lot for my granddad because like his eyesight wasn't very good. And even now, like when I'm on the road,
his eyesight weren't very good. Were you taking you backwards and forwards in the car?
I know it was very good, bless him. But his eyesight was definitely getting like worse. I think he had a problem with his eyes in the end. But he. At night time, he hated driving at night because the lights on the cars were so bright, and they would just like do that.
Get worse,
do
spangled,
that. Yeah. So he wasn't comfortable driving at night, and bless him, he still did it.
That's commitment. I had no idea. See, I should have done this. Really, we should have done podcast 20 years ago. I should have learned this 20 years ago. I didn't realise the commitment that people put into it. I had no idea. That's actually fascinating.
Yeah, they've done a lot, bless them.
So you've obviously there's a huge parent commitment here.
Yep.
And grandparents.
Yep. And in the meantime, my brother was going to uni as well, so...
Now, I do remember your brother going to uni.
Yeah.
How strange is
that
this?
That is weird.
I do remember it because he didn't
His birthday
pass,
yesterday?
did he?
No.
Can you remember?
Yes.
I remember we had a conversation in the mess room. He didn't pass.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, I can't remember, but yeah, I'm sure. Didn't we, to make him feel better, take him to Tropical Birdland? Not me. I just remember Jess saying, because she's very close with her brother, and I remember her saying, God almighty, he's just not passed yet. It's so
This was
clever.
at the latter end of the uni. So he did so well with his whole uni degree. And for some reason, they hadn't told him on the day of graduation that he hadn't quite got one of the module marks that he needed, which was rubbish of them. So we were dressed up. We went to graduation. He'd bought the tickets. They let him buy the graduation tickets, the cap, the gown, the whole lot, and then said that he wasn't allowed in. So you very nicely...
That's right.
And because it was in Leicester, you very nicely...
Yeah, I contacted a friend of mine.
Contacted a friend of yours. And
one of the two.
got us into Tropical Birdland for the afternoon.
Yes, I remember that.
And he did end up doing the rest of his uni, and he has got his degree now, so...
And he earned a fortune.
I mean, yeah, he does.
More than me now. Which I've never bloody well sent him now. I'd known how to charge him.
It's actually lucky that we did go to that graduation, though, because we didn't end up going to the graduation that he actually passed on, because he wasn't bothered by that point. So we do have pictures of him graduating, just not on the right day.
This is all fascinating. I hope you're interested in this, because if you're not, I'm not bothered. I'm actually quite interested in this. This is quite fascinating. So right, so let's see where we are. So where we are is you are coming to the end
of my third year. So yeah,
Is that the last year?
That's my last year. So I was doing my dissertation. I did my dissertation on the big cat, on whether starved days impact. I think it was impact their stereotypical behaviours.
I think it was aggression.
Was it aggression?
Yeah, because we realised that on starved days did increase their aggression.
No, my study, my dissertation said that it makes absolutely no difference if you put a starved day in, when you put it in, how many you put in, because we increased it to 2 starved days a week. Do you remember?
Right.
And they showed more excitement but no more aggression to them, like to me or to the other tigers. There was no significant finding from what I did, which is good, because I mean it meant that we could take starved days out completely, and now we feed them every day and it makes no odds.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely interesting. It was interesting to do. And then I think Charlotte was doing her study at the same time as me, but she was doing a slightly different thing.
Yes.
I don't know whether it was the same time. Was it the year after?
I think it was around about the same time.
I think it was.
So you then had to do what with that you'd
handed it in,
present it to the university?
I don't remember if I presented it or not. I probably did. I don't remember doing it. I didn't like presentations. I still don't like presentations very much, so it's probably blanked from my memory.
Yeah, that's okay.
But I passed, did everything I needed to do, went to my graduation, got my degree, so that's good. But I started working here immediately after I'd finished uni.
And did you start as the education officer?
Yes, I was as the education officer, because this is before ARG was built as well.
Oh my God, yeah, that's a long time.
Way before. So I started as the education officer. I was doing that for a very long time. I had my list like 3 months into the job. I had my own list. Well, not into placement rather than into my job, so like volunteering.
Yeah.
And then I blinked and it's been like 10 years.
No, because somewhere along the line you conned your way into management.
What do you mean conned?
I'm trying to work out how.
Right, so finished uni, came here, started living at the van full time.
Yeah.
And then you started like booking in placement students, which is not fun.
I didn't realise this. I didn't realise that, because I didn't think you was here. You've got to understand at this point where we are, I didn't have much to do with any of the staff.
No, you didn't.
Because I was like...
Steve was very much known of but not seen, and mostly heard but not seen. You definitely knew if he was angry, because he would be on a warpath, and everyone around like the vicinity, like Kaz would come up to us and say, just hide today, just get out of the way, just do something else. And
I was...
you would just like pop off at whatever. I think you were just having bad days.
Well, no, see, because I think it's like very difficult to explain to people about when you are. I think a lot of business ladies and businessmen do this, where you get so engrossed in what you're doing, and you can see it's so easy for me to say now that I had to work the hours and days that I did because we couldn't afford to pay somebody to do it.
Yeah.
So I had to be on the diggers at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm digging as well now, by the way, digging a big pool. Not a pool, a pond. Anyway, I'd be on the digger at 4 o'clock. I'd be with the bank manager at 9:30. I'd be with the managers at 10:30. I'd be in the diner. I'd be working in the diner. I'd be working in the office. So I literally worked everywhere, every day, 7 days a week, and have done right up until the point where I remember having a conversation with a chap called Professor Daniel Mills.
He's not been mentioned before.
And we were sat talking, and Professor Daniel Mills said to me, he was explaining that he just never stopped work. And we were just discussing it. And for me to be able to discuss anything with Daniel was amazing, because he don't know any words less than 14 letters. And when you're talking to him, I'm thinking, even know your foreign language. And he was talking, and he was actually saying about, there's something obviously called burnout, where basically you just burn out. And he was saying that he'd been in charge of a large area in the university.
Right.
And the dean, I think he'd been, if I'm not wrong, he'd been asked to be the dean.
Oh, right, that's a big job.
That's a big job.
Very big job.
And he said, like, the trouble with being a dean, because I know, and there's another one that we can talk about, well, not talk about, mention, he went from a lecturer to a professor and then went back down to a lecturer.
Yeah.
Because he says, I
Too
stopped
much,
doing what I was doing. He said, I stopped doing what I enjoyed doing.
Yeah.
And Daniel was saying the same. And then he said to me, one of the big problems is it's very hard to recognise that someone can get somewhere that you want them to get to, but a different route that you take.
Yeah.
He said it's really difficult to watch them thinking, oh, what are they doing? And then they go, done it. And you think, oh, didn't know you could do it that way. And we were discussing me, because he said, Steve, whether you like it or not, you're going to burn out. You cannot do this forever.
Yep.
However, it's still out 15 years later. But no, he said, like, you can't do this forever. He says, we were discussing it, and he says, what you need to do is, and this is what I did without anybody knowing. He says, you need to work out all your jobs, what you do. Literally list them all over a period of days, and then work out who can do them jobs. And then you have to start employing managers. Mm-hmm. So we employed 5 people to take 50% of my work off me.
Yeah.
What does that say about me? 5 people to take 50% of my work. Why am I still working full time now then? Where have I made these other jobs up from?
You make them up.
So that's where it like, at that point I could start spending more time with managers.
Yeah.
But up until then I didn't. Well, even more so, and this is terrible, but I could spend more time with staff, because I thought, I mean, there's no disrespect, you, Curtis, and everybody. I think the staff, when you speak to the staff, you learn more about the business than you do with the managers.
Yeah.
Because the managers, again, are smaller versions of you.
Yes.
They're trying to make sure it's done.
Yeah.
And they don't know, as long as it's finished.
Yeah.
So, and so
the process is the process in
so
between.
I remember you being part of the team. I definitely remember you being a part of the education team.
My problem is, I say it's a problem. The reason that I am where I am is because I'm nosy. That is my biggest failure and advantage. I'm too nosy, which means I want to know everything about everything. So I learn everything, which is great in some respects, maybe overstepping boundaries in others. But it meant that everything that you guys were doing, I wanted to know what you were doing and why you were doing it and how you were doing it. And I think that worked to my advantage.
Yeah.
It probably worked to yours as well.
I think it was, to me, I just looked at it and see, once I realised, I mean, it's quite easy for someone in my position to see people that's got potential to do better things.
Yeah.
What they do is, like, you've got Andy, you've got Curtis, you've got Liam, you've got Ash,
Sophie,
you've got Sophie, you've got yourself, and then once I start looking at them people, you can then start thinking, right, they could easily do that job. I'm not saying the job's easy. No. But they could do it.
They can cope with it.
And if they've got the backing of the right team. I'm trying to work out how you went from...
So, I'll tell you.
There's another comment somewhere.
I was the education officer for a very long time. And then we started building ARC. Mm-hmm. And when we were building Ark, I remember, you came up to me. I remember where it was as well. We had this conversation. It was do you remember there was an alleyway between the old Kookaburra enclosure and the compound?
Yes.
It was like a mud path with like fence either side and trees and stuff. Do you remember?
Yes, I remember that.
So down that alleyway, you stopped me because I think I was going to the skip because the skip was down there, and you were always down in the compound because it was the compound.
Yes.
So, and you stopped me down there and you said, right, you've got the choice. Do you want to do the kitchen or do you want to do the medical? And I said, the kitchen. And you said, are you sure? And I said, yes. And I think you were shocked because I think you expected me to take the medical side, to be honest.
Yeah, because I mean, the prestigious side of it is to me, I think the kitchen's the most important bit, but the medical side is
more interesting,
more satisfying.
Yeah.
But I've always, and this is one of the negatives of me, I build things that I want that others work in.
Yeah, you do.
So I want the best parrot kitchen on show to the public in the country because we're gonna do amazing things in this kitchen. So I built it and got it running and got it perfect and then give it away.
Yeah. To me.
To you. And then you ran it and I helped you.
To be fair,
run it.
yeah, I ran it to begin with.
I worked with you and then eventually you took it over and then you ended up then moving on to the hospital somehow. Yeah,
so I was running the kitchen for a long time, just like as me. And then COVID hit as well.
All right,
so COVID was a big thing.
Yep.
But so we had two people running Ark at this time. We had me running the kitchen on one side, and Charlotte running the medical on the other side.
Yep.
And then Charlotte left and you needed someone to fill the void. And you said either we hire someone or we do it. And I said, don't worry, I can do all of it. Don't know why I said that. It's a very big job. And I think I actually made my own position because I just started running the whole building. Turns out it's a very big job.
It is. It is a big
but
job.
I think I accidentally carved my own manager role. You're welcome.
I don't know if I am welcome or not. I remember signing contracts here. I can't remember this. No, I think it's just...
You did offer it to me.
Unfortunately, because there is no thing that, like, we're not a zoo. We're not like a mainstream zoo. So everything we do is unique to what we do.
Yeah.
So we create roles.
Yeah.
And you ended up very successfully taking over that particular role.
Sometimes successfully. I'm not always good at my job.
See, for me, like, the way I look at it as a big boss is... If everybody did every job perfect, then there wouldn't be no need for me.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
And so people not doing the job perfect isn't a detriment as long as it's not done intentionally not perfect.
Well, now I actually think I'm the personality hire instead because I just natter your ears off when you're in the office and get bored when you're not there.
No, we do it the other way where she gets bored while she's in the office. She gets bored of doing office
I
work.
hate paperwork. It's a lot.
And what she's got is this unbelievable cheek to say to her manager, who's Andy, and her big boss on the other side, which is me, and say, I'm fed up with this.
I'm fed up with this. Don't want to do it anymore. Find me something else to do.
I don't want to do these postmortems. I don't want to do this chemical. I don't want to do this samples. I don't want to do this. That's your job.
That's what I pay you to do. I don't want it.
So I think it's quite easy to see. We could have one of these dead easy. The only one we probably couldn't have is the one with Ash, because Ash is a slightly different way. He fell into his role as well.
He did fall into it, yeah.
In a slightly different way. So we could have a conversation with Ash, but Ash would probably turn around and say, "Well, I don't know," because Ash has learnt most of his stuff while he's done it, and he's learnt brilliantly. He's done really well with what he's done and his ideas. Some of the things that he does, and everybody's got these little talents, and I think this is what we pick out of people. So yours is quite broad in the fact of what you can and can't do. Unfortunately for me, I couldn't find anyone who could work with parrots. That was the problem. That was a massive issue. So when I started meeting with probably, and this sounds terrible, it is, I don't think I've met. The nearest I got to meeting a man that's good with parrots. Richard Hopper down at Tropical Birdland, brilliant.
Yeah.
But he don't work for me. There's somebody called Richard. Richard Stanyland. He was a bird expert. Very, very good. Really, really good as well. When I'm saying bird expert, I don't mean know everything about birds. I meant he knew how to handle them.
Yeah.
So this is where the issue comes. And I'm not saying men don't have compassion, because lots of them do. But lots of men that we employ are your big burly men for doing different types of jobs. So to find someone who turns around and says, we used to have one who was a big chap, and he wanted to try the hospital, but he had no idea of how to crop feed. And he was, and when you crop these, we go into this when we go into medical side in the future.
Yeah.
But just this one particular thing, when you go to crop feed a bird, you're holding something that's either trying to kill you or it's dying. The first thing it does is it closes its beak.
Yes.
You're then trying to shove a metal pin inside its beak so hard that if it just went, you'd go all the way through the back side of it.
Yeah.
So women tend to have that kind of awareness.
Yeah.
Men didn't.
Gentler, a bit gentler.
Men just couldn't do it. And it's not because they didn't want to. They just couldn't do it.
No.
So I ended up with, there was Ruth, there was you. I don't think there's really been anybody else up to now that could be an all-rounder on that side.
Yeah.
Because crop feeding, which is probably the biggest job that you do here with sick animals.
And when we're talking about crop feeding, so parrots have a crop where their food goes, which is like roughly here.
Yeah.
Ish. And they have obviously two holes, like kind of like we do.
Yes.
And you put the crop needle down one of the sides that goes into the crop to put the food in. The other side goes to their air sacs.
So you just kill
Not
it.
the good idea.
No. And so what happens if a parrot falls ill, it goes into shock and it gets dehydrated and it becomes quite confused.
Yeah.
So the first thing we have to do is give it food. And to give it food, basically the crop is called the first stomach. So we have to get food in there. And it goes in different consistencies. Men are just, I don't know why. This is really fascinating, this. I don't know why. Men are just not very good at that.
No.
There will be some. There'll be thousands. But we've not come across many that actually are very good at that. Lots of girls.
I've taught Ben, and Ben's quite good, but he's not very confident. But then he doesn't do it very often. I think I've taught him maybe twice. But he wasn't bad.
See, it's a strange one, because you might be working, again, if you just talking African greys, Amazons and cockatoos, you could probably teach most people. But then when you're talking a budgie...
Even I struggle with budgies.
Or then you go from that extreme to a green wing macaw.
Again, I struggle.
And on those ends, it's like that's when it becomes an art.
Difficult, yeah.
And becomes difficult. So it was like... So getting to the stories, or getting to the point of what I'm saying is, so when I meet somebody that bye. See you later, Facebookers. We would have actually told you that we was going. We are getting close to saying goodbye, but we didn't expect it to just drop off the wall.
Oh no, the microphone.
Oh my lord! And we've
broke the microphone.
Sorry, guys. We've just.
Are we still on? Yeah.
Oh, we're still on. Sorry, we've just. You're gonna have to have no microphone. It's just cost me a microphone. That thing that they said that you don't fall. Sorry, guys. You just went for a dive really quickly. Now you've got us lopsided. So well, by
the microphone's broken. Look, you can see the motherboard. We'll have to check your inside to make sure your phone's okay.
All right, yeah.
As well, because that's.
Yeah, that's well gone, isn't it?
That's well gone.
Might have been a really expensive fall, that.
We'll deal with that later.
So one of the things that we actually, this is where I fail in, I become obsessed with people who can do this role. So once I find a boy or a girl that is like, A, interested in parrots, B, ask the right questions, and C, you look and think, oh my God, they can actually do this, then I invest my time around them.
Yeah.
Because it's such a specialised job that there just isn't many around.
No.
And somehow you just fell into that group. She was very, very good with food. And that's one of my biggest fortes here. I love the diet side of all animals. But then all of a sudden you've got somebody who's relatively clever.
Too nosy.
Well nosy.
Ask too many questions.
She can be a pain in the neck in lots of ways. Fortunately, she's got a lot more assets than she has got negatives. And then it was to us, and then she just became one of the boys. So it don't make no difference where Jess is concerned. So we could either be talking nutrition, or talking what diesel we're putting in the digger, and she'll be just as nosy. And you've got just as much chance of finding her stood cutting. I remember once she did some food for I don't know what she thought she was doing. She did like a Chelsea flower show of monkey food for little marmosettes with all this decorative, and I looked and thought,
edible flowers and everything.
That looks amazing. That, and we used to put these things on show to the general public. But this is probably when we have this discussion about me, I will talk about some of the negatives, and some of the negatives are that when you do that is then amazing, and you look and think, wow. The general public will just naturally ask, what is that? And once they ask it, you can then get the information.
Yeah.
The instant you step away from it, stopped. It's never done again. Now, I used to
grow my own herbs. I used to have a little strawberry patch. I missed it.
So, my problem is that's the same all along the line. When you step away, as a boss, as a CEO, you try to implement things and then hope they'll just maintain that whatever it is you've implemented. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. No. And then you walk into the kitchen one day and you think, oh, it's just a kitchen now.
Yeah.
But fortunately for us, and we in the future with the likes of Andy, Curtis,
Sophie.
Sophie will be quite good,
Sophie
because Sophie like tried to marry her way in. She thought sleeping with a boss's son, she'll get in.
I mean, she has.
And she has. And she's done quite well.
But she got here on her merit.
She's now the admin manager.
She did get here on a merit, though. She got here before that.
Yeah, she was actually... she's not bad at what she does. We'll talk
She's good. She's very good at what she does. I remember when Andy started. Because obviously when I started, Sophie had literally just gone on maternity leave. So she was the infamous Sophie to me. I'd never met her before.
Oh, right.
And then I remember when Andy started. I remember when Curtis started. I remember when Ash started. I don't remember when Liam started, but he started way before me.
Yeah, I don't know. Liam started in about 2008, 2007, I think, something like that.
8 years before me.
Yeah, a good long time. So he's been here.
It'd be interesting to get them in, though.
It's fascinating. Well, listen, I hope this has been different. And it's been quite enlightening.
Maybe I'll get some conversation out of today.
Yeah, this has been quite enlightening. It's quite interesting.
Or maybe just a new microphone.
You'll get a new microphone. I'll put that down on the expenses. And hopefully get a new phone. So I hope you've enjoyed this, because it's been different. We're going to carry on doing these kind of things. But it's just... it's actually been quite fascinating to me.
Yeah. Maybe we should do like another character next week.
No, we're not going to go into characters every week, because we're doing this all the time. No, because it's fascinating. I mean, Andy, he came here for reptiles.
He did, yeah. He took my reptile job off me. I was doing the reptiles at that time.
I think Curtis was the one that...
Curtis recommended him, yeah.
And he's never liked him since.
That's a lie.
He's now Curtis's boss.
He is, yeah. Curtis brought him here and now he's his boss.
How about that? Yeah. So Ben will be an interesting one.
Yeah.
We need 5 hours.
Yeah, we would. Yeah, we would need 5 hours.
Claire will be interesting, but we need some bigger chairs. She's only that big. Claire's just like the little one out of us. She's the same size of her dog. I think it'll be fascinating. We will do this. So where are you now then? So as we come to the end of this, where are you now work-wise? What is your role? What do you do?
My name's Jess, and I am the ARC manager, and I do everything to do with nutrition, to medical, to my reindeers. I kept my reindeers.
Oh, you kept your reindeers and otters, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, I obtained the otters in later years, but I kept my reindeers. I was known for my reindeers and my cockatoos, and I miss them dearly, but don't have the time for them anymore.
No.
Not the cockatoos. I have the time for the reindeers.
And you're also the crazy cat lady, because we keep getting all these cats that we keep sorting out.
We'll do.
We're not even going to talk about that.
I mean, we've not even gone into the time where I had an apartment for like 6 months and I had to go up to 6 days a week to pay for it. And then I've not even gone into asking you if I could renovate the caravan.
And I can't remember if I said yes or no. Did you do it?
You did say yes.
Yeah, right.
I have done it.
No, that's okay. That's handy. So there's actually quite a lot. I mean, I think they'll all just come back as conversations. Yeah. They'll just come in. Yeah. And what she hadn't mentioned is, like, because obviously she's now got a lodger that lives with her, and she's had him for how many years? 3 years?
2 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is another just wild stray moggy that just appeared.
Yeah, my little Ruby.
So she's the crazy cat woman. But fortunately, the crazy cat woman that works here and nowhere else will keep her conde for as long as she can. One day she will learn the combination to get out of the gate and leave us. But at the moment, she seems okay. What are you laughing at?
You mean Jess lodges with his lordship?
Exactly that.
The king.
The king, exactly that. He follows us everywhere.
He does, yeah, he's like a dog.
He thinks he's part of the workforce. I'm
he does.
amazed they don't ask for wages. So right, I think. Do you think you've give people their insight into how you got here, what you're doing? What do you think you're happy with that?
I think so. Yeah.
I think I'm quite entertained. I'm quite pleased with that.
Good.
I didn't know. I had no idea. I might actually, when we come talking about what's some things we do appraisals. When we do appraisals again, I might mention.
I'm going to ask for more money because I was getting conned out of meals for 6 months.
Oh, yeah. They were cheap then.
They were, yeah.
Thank you very much for watching. So this is Steve, and that is
Jess.
And this is the end of Wild Conversations.